Good evening, everyone. Welcome. My name is Katie Countryman, Education and Events Manager for the Enzian Theater. Welcome to our Science on Screen presentation. Yes, of Deep Blue Sea. Tonight we are a part of a nationwide event called National Night of Science on Screen. And this is also in conjunction with our cult classic lineup, which brings classic favorites back in 35 millimeter for everyone to enjoy. Cult classics are offered twice per month, usually on the second and last Tuesday at 9:30. The Enzian is committed to being a window for respect, creativity, and wisdom. Our motto is to inspire, educate, and connect the community through the science on screen. And it is an exemplary example of our motto. Sorry, guys, I'm not normally behind the scenes, not a great guest speaker. Sorry, guys. The Science on Screen series has enhanced film and scientific literacy with this popular program, which launched at the Coolidge Corner Center in 2005. In participation with the Alfred P. Sloan Foundation and its pioneering nationwide film program, the Coolidge Center has expanded Science on Screen to 72 cinemas nationwide. Throughout the academic year, Science on Screen creatively pairs screenings of classic, cult, science fiction, and documentary films with lively presentations by notable experts from the world of science and technology. Each film is used as a jumping-off point for a speaker to introduce current research or technological advances in a manner that engages pop culture audiences. So about our guest speaker. Yay! Yeah, you don't even know who he is, and he's already awesome. Our guest speaker tonight has been enthralled and fascinated with sharks since his early childhood. He has been fortunate enough to make working with sharks and other marine creatures his life's work. He grew up in New Jersey, where he earned a Bachelor's of Science in Marine Biology and spent 3 months living in Ganzabai, South Africa, conducting popular studies on local great white sharks for the White Shark Research Institute. Since then, he has worked as a senior aquarist at 2 small aquariums in New Jersey, the Albuquerque Aquarium in New Mexico, and the Zoo Tampa at Lowry Park. More recently, he has worked as Senior 1 aquarist at SeaWorld Orlando since 2006. He currently lives in Winter Springs with his wife, Melody, and 2 young daughters, Ava and Amelia. He loves sharing his knowledge of sharks and passion for their conservation along to future generations. May we all give a big round of applause as we introduce Tim Delaney.
Thank you very much, Katie. Thank you. All right. Well, they always say, let's start with a joke. Start with a joke. So, why did the shark cross the road? To get to the other tide. Yes, I just wanted to set the tone. All right, thank you for coming. Thank you to the Enzian. And yes, my name is Tim Delaney, and I am from SeaWorld Orlando. And tonight, I am going to present Bites, Camera, Reaction, Shark Portrayal in Cinema. So now, once again, just to reiterate who you're dealing with here. My name is Tim Delaney. I am originally from New Jersey. I am the original Jersey Shore aquarist, the filtration situation, if you will. So I've worked at a number of different aquariums, but one thing for certain is I have always loved sharks. Yep, there you go. Senior picture, senior quote, West Milford High School, 1994. Loved sharks. Front page of the Albuquerque newspaper. This picture garnered me the nickname Clasper Grasper. Yeah, I got in trouble for that. But yes, loved sharks. And yes, real quick, we're going to cover this. This is one of the shining stars of my career. In 1998, I spent a summer, 3 months, in Gansbaai, South Africa, working for the South African White Shark Research Institute under the tutelage of Michael Scholl, who is head of the Save Our Seas Foundation, and Craig Ferreira, who was the head of the White Shark Research Institute. We were doing population studies on the local great whites. This was years ago, back before there was satellite tags. We were tagging them, looking at them, and seeing if we were resighting them to see where they were going. Well, we were doing our research in an 18-foot pontoon boat, or a rubber duck, as the South Africans referred them to, and a very plucky 12-foot male great white who we had tagged with a green tag, letter Z, green Z, as he became to be known, got a little bit too excited and came up and bit our boat. And this is my $1 million shot right there. That's his head. That's our boat popping. 7 miles from shore, I may tell you. So we were able to make it back. We needed a bigger boat. There you can see where his bite mark was, and he finally let go right before he popped the next chamber. That's the only reason why we were able to make it back. And there's his tire-sized bite radius. So that was a lot of fun. But even after all that, I still love sharks. I can't tell you that enough, because myself and anyone else that works in my aquarium and zoological industry, we are very passionate. We love our animals. That's why we're here. We love our animals. So tonight, we're here to talk about sharks in cinema. And we could not do that without referring to the granddaddy of them all, Jaws. Jaws started it. Jaws is a masterpiece. It's good and bad. Jaws, I am a child of Jaws. I was born in 76. Jaws came out in 75. The reason I am interested in sharks is because of Jaws. And Jaws was, of course, directed by Mr. Steven Spielberg and written by Peter Benchley. Not sure that's he was the reporter. They gave him a quick scene in Jaws. He was the reporter in Jaws. And it was two-sided. It motivated people to love sharks. And of course, we have Life Aquatic. I like to always think that's a good, marine biology motivational movie. And on a serious note, this is Rob Stewart to the left here. He is a shark biologist. He's done Shark Water and Shark Water Extinction. Fantastic films. If you have not seen them, I suggest you watch them. It tells about the whole shark finning industry and how sharks need probably even more help than a lot of the animals on the planet right now. And, great things. But the flip side of Jaws was that they did portray the shark as a man-eating villain. And so for as many people as it motivated to be shark preservationists, it also caused lots of shark tournaments and sharks to be killed. And to this day, we still have a real problem with shark fishing. Not to be a downer, but it is. And okay, moving on. In fact, the damage to sharks from Jaws, Peter Benchley, the author, later in life, wrote Shark Trouble, which was essentially an apology to sharks, because he said before he passed away that knowing what he knows in current times, he could not have written Jaws as the villain as it is. Because I can tell you, even from my experiences with great whites, they are not as aggressive as everyone thinks they are. In fact, a lot of the times we would bait them in for cage diving, and as soon as they'd be circling the boat, we'd throw the cage in, and they'd all swim off. They'd get scared. So you have to be delicate, even with great white sharks. So, all right, let's get some facts. Bruce, the great white in Jaws, was allegedly 25 feet long. Your basic great whites the males are 11 to 13 feet, and females 15 to 16 feet. Now, they do get bigger than that, but we're not here to exaggerate things tonight. We're here to just give you more facts. These are your more average great white sharks. And people always wonder, what was the largest shark, like the largest great white? You may have seen there was a story on the submarine a couple years ago on Discovery Channel. It was kind of a over-dramatized great whitetail. Craig, the guy that I work for in South Africa, him and his father saw the submarine back in the 70s when they were shark researchers, and it was a 23-foot great white. So to my knowledge, there are stories of 30-footers. Officially measured, there's only 20-footers, but Craig's father, who was this salt of the earth, very serious man, he said, that's a 23-foot shark. And it's like you could take him at his word. So there have been other shark films, other Jaws films over the years. The only one that I really want to touch on is, you may not know this, Jaws 3, the third one, was filmed at SeaWorld Orlando. It's one of my favorite little tidbits. And that was a while ago, so the only little bits that you can see are here and there, but this is one of my favorites. There's Dennis Quaid, and he's looking at a shark attack victim. We still have that sign in our area, and anytime I give behind-the-scenes tours, I show off that sign. So, all right. More recently, we had The Meg. Yes, The Meg. Statham really looks good with a beard, I'll tell you. So, but all right. The Meg was about, it was from a series of books. Now, I know you hear this, everybody says this all the time. This is totally true in this case. The books were better than the movie. The movie combined elements of all the books. If you have not read the Meg series, they're phenomenal. It's by Steve Alton. Some people describe it as Jurassic Shark. Very accurate. Just like in Jurassic Park, the whole thing about how the dinosaurs with the amber and the DNA, same thing the way Steve Alton describes how the megalodons could still be alive. It's one of those things where you're like, that seems pretty plausible. So, excellent set of books. I totally recommend it. If you didn't quite enjoy the movie, definitely read the books. So, the megalodon did actually exist. It was a prehistoric great white relative, and they were huge, topping off at 60 feet. So you can see there's a great white tooth in comparison to a meg tooth, and a smaller great white in comparison to a megalodon. But they did actually exist, but I have to say they are extinct. As cool as I think it would be for megalodons to still exist, they went extinct about 3.6 million years ago. And that's not to be confused with the megamouth shark. Some people are like, oh, the megalodon still exists. No, the megamouth is very exciting. It was, the first specimen was discovered back in 1976. It's a big shark. It lends to the fact that, hey, maybe there are big things in the ocean that we still don't know about, because here was this huge shark that was never seen until 1976. They eat plankton, very cool, very rare. They do exist. Megamouth, or megalodon is extinct, however. All right, there's been other movies over the years. Sharknado. All I'm going to touch on this one, 100% scientifically accurate. I'm just going to leave it at that, all right? We don't need to go any further than that. So, but tonight, we're here to talk about Deep Blue Sea is what we're here to talk about tonight. Now, once again, as a shark fan, the Jaws movies, the Jaws 4 came out when I was in 6th grade, so we'd had a famine of shark movies. So in 1999, you can only imagine how excited I was when I heard that there was a shark movie coming out, Deep Blue Sea, directed by Rennie Harlin, with a full cast of excellent actors, actresses, and musicians. Yep, Sir LL Cool J is in that movie, and he, one of the best rap songs about sharks, I think, ever written. We don't have to discuss that, but just, there you go. So, okay, we're gonna discuss reality versus fanciful in the movies in Deep Blue Sea. Okay, their research facility, Aquatica, super fancy. They have all these different levels and elevators and underwater tunnels. Very fancy. Aquatica doesn't actually exist. To my knowledge, unless there's a secret one out there, I don't think there are any research facilities that are this fancy. However, Aquatica does exist, and it's in Orlando. Slide side by side with the sea. It's great. So, yes, shameless plug. So, go have fun at Aquatica. But, all right. They had genetically modified mako sharks. That was the premise of Deep Blue Sea. The idea was that they were trying to grow the sharks' brains so that they can help Alzheimer's patients. Controversial medical research, but that's the idea. And of course, the sharks ended up being a little naughty with their smarter brains. So now, in Deep Blue Sea, their biggest mako is 26 feet. Very impressive, very impressive. Also, false. Mako sharks do not get that big. But there are two species of mako sharks. You've got the short-fin mako, the Isorus oxyrhynchus, and then you've got the long-fin mako. It's pelagic relative, which has bigger fins, so they're rarely seen because they're way out in the ocean. And still very impressive animals, but they don't get to be 26 feet long. So they make them very aggressive in deep blue sea. Well, I can tell you, makos are considered some of the, I think they're on the top 10 list of more touchy kind of aggressive sharks, but not nearly what they portray in the movie. In fact, as you can see, people go diving with makos, and they are the fastest shark. They can do bursts of speed up to 42 miles per hour. It's very, very impressive. That is their big claim to fame. So there is a tiger shark that is portrayed in the movie real quick. I can tell you that they just took the animatronic sharks as the makos and repainted it to look like a tiger shark. Tiger sharks actually have a more broad snout. They made the makos seem more aggressive than the tiger shark in the movie. I can tell you that tiger sharks tend to be a little bit more aggressive than makos in real life, but all beautiful in their own ways. So. In the movie, they have the tiger shark with very distinct stripes. Well, as babies, tiger sharks have stripes. Their stripes fade as they get older, so that's why we have a cute little picture of a baby tiger shark with a mommy tiger shark right here. They're all okay. Everything was fine. So. But in the movie, there is a very famous scene where he's like, "Did that shark just recognize that gun?" I can tell you, sharks will not recognize guns. However, if you do find sharks that recognize guns, that's a pretty tough neighborhood they live in. So I feel bad for the sharks. And sharks cannot swim backwards. Cool idea, but they can't. However, in reality, at SeaWorld and other aquariums, sharks do recognize targets and go to specific targets, and then you can tongue feed them. We do that with our sharks, so that way different species go to different targets, so that way they get fed, they don't bother each other, and they get all their proper nutrients. So no guns, but they can recognize targets. So, but the controversial medical research that they talked about in Deep Blue Sea, they do actually, there is some research with sharks and medicine that is going on. First of all, sharks do get cancer. This was a long time thing where people were like, sharks don't get cancer. I can tell you, sharks do get cancer. In fact, we even had a shark at SeaWorld that developed cancer, and we had to treat it. But yes, sharks they are super amazing animals, but they can actually get cancer. And there is actual medical research that is going on with sharks right as we speak. Wound healing. Sharks can heal quickly from wounds and are resistant to some infections. There is a trial on a grafting device that uses silicone and shark cartilage to treat extreme burns and diabetic foot ulcers. So that's something they're working on right now. Cancer. They are actually examining immunity genes found in sharks that have undergone evolutionary changes that may be tied to cancer-resistant abilities. So, sharks, yes, they get cancer, but they may actually be able to help treat cancer. Hospital infections. I'm sure you've heard about shark skin. They have the dermal denticles, which is skin teeth. Literally, their skin is covered in tiny teeth. And they're actually using that to help deter, things can't grip onto those the shark skin surfaces, so it helps for cleaner environments, less infections in a hospital. So that's another thing that they're working on. And once again, to lend some truth to what was somewhat exaggerated in Deep Blue Sea, is that they are using sharks to try to help Alzheimer's patients. As you can see here, researchers are seeing if it is possible to attach therapeutic proteins to shark-derived antibodies in an attempt to bind a drug to a specific target in the human body. That means they're trying to use the shark stuff to direct the drug exactly where it's supposed to go, which could be very helpful. So, now these are some things where we are trying to use sharks to help us, which is fine. But I've got to be real here. It's the sharks. They need our help. Once again, back to the whole thing where Jaws you had people that were inspired to save sharks, but also people that were inspired to harm sharks and, eat sharks and so on and so forth. Sharks are having a rough time out in the ocean right now. And one of the big things is shark fin soup. This lends back to that other figure that I showed where 100 million sharks are killed every year. The shark fin soup, apparently it doesn't add flavor, it adds consistency to the soup. It's like a status symbol, I believe, if they serve it. And they are just decimating shark populations to get this stuff. And it's led to shark finning, which is a terrible, terrible practice. The Shark Water movie talks about that, where it's rather than filling their holds, fishermen filling their holds with whole sharks, they're just cutting the fins off the sharks and throwing them back in the ocean and using the fins. And usually the sharks are still alive. That's like taking one of us and cutting off our arms and legs and throwing you back in the water. Not a fun way to go. Even if your name's Bob, it doesn't work, no. But, shark fin soup. Here's a bummer, hot off the presses. The mako, the shark that we are watching tonight in this film, they just got put on the endangered species list 3 days ago. So that's the thing. Unfortunately, we're not to the point where things are getting better yet for sharks. I mean, in China, where the shark fin soup is very positive, there's the celebrity Yao Ming. He was a basketball player, if I'm not mistaken, and he has started a whole campaign against eating shark fin soup, and he has made a huge difference in their culture, actually. It's very, very, very positive. So, through education, through change in, interpretations and what's sustainable and not, maybe we can get back to some healthy oceans for sharks. Because aside from, the shark god does speak. Thank you. Testing. Whoa.
Testing. All right. Stand back a little bit.
I have to stand back. I apologize. Sharks help keep the ocean in balance. Sharks, as fantastic predators as they are, just like anybody else, they want the easiest meal possible. So they seek out the sicker animals, which in turn keeps the overall populations healthier. Also, they keep population numbers in check. I know in South Africa, with the great whites in Hansby where I was, their great whites are feeding on these Cape fur seals. There were tens of thousands of these animals on this rock formation off the coast of South Africa. If the great whites go away, the seal population explodes, and next thing you know, you have the fish populations that the seals eat being decimated, and thusly, these seals start starving. One of the things that I can tell you that we have even noticed just in the Tampa Bay area, the shark numbers are down. I'm not going to sugarcoat it. You may have heard that, guess what? Stingray populations are starting to explode. Even online, you see those huge schools of the stingray swimming along, the cow nose rays. That's beautiful, but it's not necessarily good. Once again, people are usually concerned by what affects them the most. More people are getting stung by stingrays because sharks like to eat stingrays. Less sharks means more stingrays, and that's more people not doing the stingray shuffle at the beach and end up getting a nasty sting, which is no fun. Fortunately, we are starting to make some progress. Ecotourism is a big thing. I bet, are there any people in this room that have dove with sharks? All right, I see a few hands. Exactly, excellent, excellent. People are starting to realize that, you know what? A live shark that you take divers to go see or boaters to look at is worth more than a dead shark. So ecotourism is a very good thing for the shark species. But we still together have to save our sharks, and things that you could just do at home. I'm sure a lot of you have heard about the plastics issue that's going on in the ocean. You've seen the videos of the surface of the ocean just plastered with plastic. Try to reduce your plastic use. You know, I like these forever straws that people are starting to use. And recycling. Recycling is so important. One thing that's not up here, hey, I love sharks. I'm a marine biologist, but I like seafood too. You know, be responsible with your seafood. Or even if you're a fisherman, that's fine. Fish sustainable fish, but also get rid of your unused fishing line properly, because that in itself causes a whole host of problems. And yeah, don't eat shark fin soup. Just say no. Just say no. That would be super so. Most importantly, I would like to remind everyone that sharks are friends, not food. They are not the monsters, as fun as it is, what we see in movies, and I love shark movies, don't get me wrong. Sharks are friends, not food. Be kind to sharks. Be kind to the ocean. And they, in turn, will keep the ocean in balance, and you know what? That helps us in the long run. Because I'll tell you, going to the beach and not worrying about the chance that I might get, you know, that I won't see a shark, as safe as that sounds, it's disappointing. I like to know that if I go to the beach, there's a chance I'm going to get eaten. That's exciting. So, well, thank you all for listening to me. I have to thank... Oh, you're so kind, so kind. I have to thank Javier Vladimir, a friend of mine, for his seamless photoshopping, as you were treated to earlier in the film. I would like to thank anyone whose copyrighted pictures I used for this presentation to tell my story. You're the best. Thank you. Thank you to the Enzian for having us here. And thank you to you guys for coming out, for wanting to see this movie, and for caring about sharks. So let us all descend into the deep blue sea. Thank you.